guys, and welcome back to Baking with Confidence. My name is Natalie and I have challenged myself to cook my way through Claire Saffit's Dessert Person cookbook. And this recipe we are making today is mascarpone cake with a prune red wine sticky sauce. So first things first, I need to make my sticky sauce with prunes, red wine, sugar, star anise, and cinnamon. First things first, I'm going to be taking 1.5 cups and a half a cup of water, and I will be reducing that with my prunes pitted in a saucepan over medium heat for about 50 to 60 minutes until it reduces significantly and becomes syrupy and sticky. The prunes have become swollen and tender, and I will be popping 2 full cinnamon sticks. If you don't have cinnamon sticks on hand, these can be kind of pricey. You can use ground cinnamon. Claire suggests a few alternatives to you guys in her cookbook. It is an easy one to follow through, and it will be a circular cake this time. I'm excited to officially graduate from what feels like the loaf pan to the cake pan. I did not have any whole star anise because she says you can just drop one of those in. I had star anise seeds, so I ground mine up in my spice grinder, and that is what I have in my mixed sugar blend here. Reading over Claire's recipe, it seems pretty straightforward, a simple single layer cake with some delicious prunes in it. I myself am not a star anise fan or a prune fan, but I know who is, my father. So this will be a lovely surprise to drop off on his doorstep later when I finish baking, and he will thoroughly enjoy this delicious cake. Claire recommends this as an easy go-to recipe if it is something that you are into and a party-winning treat. Maybe I will give that a go once all of this quarantine is over, but here is one step closer to baking with confidence, guys. Okay, so we're back and we have reduced our red wine prune sauce, and we are going to start making our batter while that cools. I've already greased and lined my cake pan. Claire's method is the best method, which just means trace and cut and paste in. And I have to say, it has been a lifesaver. Trying to do all those tricky and fancy maneuvers on lining pans in the past have been such a nightmare, and this has been a piece of cake. I have my flour, only a cup of flour, baking soda, and salt already in my pan, and I'm just going to quickly whisk it together to combine before focusing on my wet ingredients, and I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to attempt to do this all by hand. It seems pretty straightforward, just a little bit of whisking, and since when is whisking hard? We'll see. Now, in my second pan for my wet ingredients, I have my, oh, by the way, I have my oven preheating behind me at 350. I'm gonna start putting my wet ingredients here. And in this bowl goes 3 eggs, the mascarpone, vanilla, melted butter, sugar, and lemon or orange zest. I'm using orange because that's what I have on hand. So let's put these in here together. So first things first, eggs. 1 whole egg and then 2 yolks. Now it is time to whisk until thick. Let's get going. One cup of sugar goes in. And here we go. I would say that is pretty thick. Up next, we are going to add in the mascarpone, melted butter, vanilla, and lemon. And like I said, I'm doing orange. She said to pre-melt the butter and then let it cool. The mascarpone should be at room temperature as well. So I set all these ingredients out earlier when I did my mise en place while my sauce was reducing over the stove. It calls for 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 1 and 2. And it calls for 2 teaspoons of finely grated lemon zest or orange. I'm going to just gently roll it and massage it real quick. And then I'm going to zest directly in the bowl. I just kind of eyeball this generally. I don't exactly measure it out because it always seems like I either do too little or too less, and I've gotten really good at eyeballing it over the years, and I feel pretty confident in myself. When you're zesting, just make sure to gradually look and rotate your fruit that you're zesting. You don't want to get any of the pith or the white from underneath the flesh. Generally what I do with my zested fruits after I have used them is I set them in the fridge so I can make cocktails out of them later. Just because the rind isn't good anymore doesn't mean the juice can't be used in a cocktail or maybe in a glaze later on. And this will definitely go into probably a cocktail. We have a wintry storm heading our way, so that if that means we are snowed in, cocktail time. A little more, I believe. And then we are going to whisk this together and then put our wet into our dry mixture that we've set over to the side. And once that has come together, it'll go directly into the pan. It'll be in the oven for about an hour, and it'll be on the center rack until the top is golden brown. I believe that looks good. Now, before you ever put your zester away, make sure to look at the bottom. You can see all the good stuff is there. So make sure you get all the leftover zest from the bottom of your zester. If you don't have a zester, and I didn't have a zester for many, many years, one of the ways to get around that is you can use one of the finer settings on a grater. If you don't have a grater, I would honestly recommend just juicing it and putting a glaze and soaking the cake on top or something like that. So let's see how this goes. I told you guys I wasn't going to be using a stand mixer today because the recipe seemed too easy. Who needs that? Plus, new year, new me, right? Working out? Maybe? So I'm gonna try and beat out all the lumps from the mascarpone, which seems to have done a lot better than I was expecting. So I have beat it until it is smooth, and now it is time to mix the wet into the dry. So I'm just going to scrape it and get everything off the sides into the flour mixture, nice and smooth. Now if you don't have mascarpone, you can use a lot of alternative ingredients to fill that one in. You can use cream cheese or a, what's it called? There's a few different varieties of cheeses, soft cheeses that you can use. So feel free to look in your local grocery store or for substitutions online. There are multiple ways that you can do this. So I'm just gonna fold this in and combine my ingredients. This is one of the longer recipes in Claire's book. It's actually 3 pages, including the photo. So turning the page. To fold this in. Should have gotten a bigger bowl. What's new? This is a really light dough for sure. I would probably compare this to maybe somewhere in between a cake an angel food cake. It feels so light to the touch while I'm mixing it. It's very minimal mixture. This is a single layer cake. This is not a two-layered cake. So there's no filling, no stacking, none of that. So I'm gonna get the last bits of flour incorporated here so we can pour it into the pan. It goes into a 9-inch pan greased with butter and lined with parchment paper. One last spot. Don't want to overwork my dough. Oven's ready. So here's my batter. Nice and smooth, a pretty good consistency. Falls off the spoon pretty easily. So I'm going to scrape it into my pan. Since it is a small yield, it is a 9-inch pan, and I honestly wonder what a 8-inch would do. If you wanted a taller cake, or something a little more rich, what that would look. So I'm going to spread it out. Just till it's touching the sides. And of course, like any person, just give it a 1-2. Knocking the air bubbles out. Now, for the sauce that I have going over here that has been cooling, Claire says that we are going to reserve the syrup for once you are ready to serve it, but to delicately place the prunes on top. She says if you have larger prunes, to cut them in half if you wish, or if you have smaller prunes, to place them just so. I have what I think is the larger size. I am not a prune person, so I'm a little unsure to this. So I'm gonna just start placing them. If I feel like it's getting too big, I might start cutting them up. But one of the things that she does say while you're placing these is to be very careful not to spill the syrup all over the top. I'm gonna try to do this relatively artistically. We'll see if that happens. Oh my gosh, it's like they keep coming. Where are all these prunes coming from? It's just gonna ruin my pattern. Once you place the prunes into the batter, you reserve this to the side and pop this in the oven. She does say that the prunes might start to get darker on top as you bake, so you can create a tinfoil tent or teepee on top to reduce the browning. I am going to give them a little pat pat so they sit nicely in the dough. And I will see you guys in an hour to see the finished result. Here we are, guys. The cake is out of the oven and it is hot, hot, hot. It took about 50 minutes in the oven until it was nice and golden brown. As you can see, it looks absolutely beautiful. I did not tent it like Claire recommended because I didn't feel like the prunes were getting too dark. Now, it has to stay in the pan until it's completely cool, and then you can pop it out using an offset spatula or a knife or something like that. I have my glaze from earlier, my sticky red wine sauce, and that is to be served when you slice into it. She also recommends putting a dollop of mascarpone on top just to add that tanginess to the savoriness of this cake, and I think this is a complete success. I'm looking forward to giving this to my father tomorrow. He's going to be so surprised and so excited, and I can't wait to watch and bite into it. And I believe I am one step closer to becoming a dessert person. I can't wait to see you guys next time. Bye.